Gladiator Combat. Gladiator battles were one of the most famous sports in ancient Rome. These fights took place inside massive arenas like the Colosseum and were watched by thousands of spectators. Most gladiators were slaves, prisoners, or captured warriors trained to fight using different weapons and armor. Because each gladiator type used unique equipment and fighting styles, battles became unpredictable and exciting to watch. However, despite what many people believe, gladiators did not always fight to the death. Training gladiators was expensive, so experienced fighters were often kept alive after defeat. That is why gladiator combat became both entertainment and a symbol of Roman power. Chariot racing. Chariot racing was one of the most popular sports in ancient Rome, and sometimes even more popular than gladiator fights. During these races, drivers controlled lightweight chariots pulled by horses at extremely high speeds around large arenas called circuses. The most famous arena was the Circus Maximus, which could hold more than 150,000 spectators. Because the races involved sharp turns and crowded competition, crashes were extremely common and often deadly. Roman fans also supported racing factions similar to modern sports teams, creating intense rivalries between different colors like red, blue, green, and white. That is why chariot racing became one of the biggest forms of entertainment in Roman society. Roman wrestling. Wrestling was another common sport practiced throughout ancient Rome. Unlike gladiator combat, wrestling focused more on physical skill, balance, and technique instead of weapons. Matches usually ended when one competitor forced the other onto the ground or into submission. Because strength and endurance were highly respected in Roman culture, wrestling became an important part of military and athletic training. Many Roman soldiers also practiced wrestling to improve hand-to-hand combat skills. That is why wrestling remained one of the most respected athletic sports in ancient Rome. Roman boxing. Roman boxing was far more brutal than modern boxing. Instead of soft gloves, fighters wrapped their hands with hardened leather straps called cestus, which sometimes even contained metal pieces. Because of this, injuries during matches were extremely serious and fights often became very violent. Unlike modern boxing with timed rounds and referees, Roman boxing usually continued until one fighter surrendered or became unable to continue. Despite the danger, Roman crowds loved the intensity and aggression of these fights. That is why boxing became one of the most feared sports in ancient Rome. Roman running. Running competitions were commonly held during festivals and athletic events. These races tested speed, endurance, and stamina across different distances. Because physical fitness was important for both soldiers and athletes, running became a key part of Roman training and competition. Some races took place inside stadiums, while others happened across open terrain. Although running was less violent than other Roman sports, winning races still brought honor and recognition to athletes. Roman horse racing. Horse racing was another major spectator sport in ancient Rome. Unlike chariot racing, where drivers controlled teams of horses, these events focused directly on horseback riding and speed. Because horses were expensive and valuable, horse racing became closely connected with wealthy Roman citizens and the upper class. Races were highly competitive and often attracted large crowds during public festivals. That is why horse racing became an important symbol of status and entertainment in Roman culture. Roman hunting games. These events were called Venationes and involved staged hunts between humans and wild animals inside arenas. Romans imported exotic animals such as lions, tigers, elephants, bears, and crocodiles from different parts of the empire. Because many spectators had never seen these animals before, the games felt both exciting and terrifying. Sometimes trained hunters fought the animals directly, while in other events, animals were released into large, staged environments. These spectacles demonstrated the wealth and reach of the Roman Empire. That is why hunting games became one of the most extravagant forms of Roman entertainment. Roman naval battles. The Romans sometimes recreated large-scale sea battles called Naumachiae for public entertainment. To do this, massive arenas or artificial lakes were filled with water, and real ships were used during the performances. Participants fought using realistic naval combat tactics, while thousands of spectators watched from surrounding seats. Because these events required enormous amounts of money, manpower, and engineering, they were very rare and extremely impressive. That is why naval battle spectacles became some of the grandest events ever organized in ancient Rome. Roman ball games. Romans also played various games using balls for recreation and exercise. Some games focused on throwing and catching, while others involved teamwork and physical contact. Although these sports were less violent than gladiator combat or boxing, they remained popular among soldiers, children, and citizens. Because they improved coordination and fitness, ball games became part of daily Roman life and military training. Some historians even believe certain Roman ball games helped influence modern sports played today. Roman military games. Many Roman sports were directly connected to military training. Soldiers practiced activities like javelin throwing, archery, obstacle courses, mock combat and endurance challenges. Because Rome depended heavily on military strength, physical training was considered extremely important. These competitions helped prepare soldiers for real battles while also entertaining crowds during festivals and celebrations. That is why athletic competition and military culture became deeply connected throughout ancient Roman society.